Our presenter is Dr. Francisco Moreno, Associate Vice President of UAHS, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at the University of Arizona, and information in his full bio is available on the attendee website. Please reference your screen and see for CEU accreditation and disclosure statements, which can also be found under the CEU tab on your attendee website. Dr. Moreno, we're looking forward to your presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction, both Katie and Christy also. I'll get going then. I'll start by, first of all, thanking again the organizers for the invitation to join the special summit. It's an honor to be here representing both the University of Arizona as well as the All of Us Research Program. I'll start by sharing my slides at this point. And I hope that we're all able to see it without any difficulties. We'll have an opportunity to speak a little bit about the All of Us Research Program. Start by talking a little bit about why discussing diverse participation is important, and hopefully spend the majority of the time talking about what is it that we have been doing here in Arizona to address that very important priority of the All of Us as well. First of all, diversity is very important, especially when you don't have it. And of course, most of us are very familiar with the fact that the ancestry reflected in GWAS participants has been dominated by the representation of individuals of European ancestry. What you can see here in this slide is the proportion of individuals in the global population in this column, and you see how red is for European. However, this is the number of individuals that have participated in genomic research up until 2018. So needless to say, when you live in a country like the United States or a state like Arizona, in which the community not only has a very large proportion of folks that are identified as members of other racial group, but also the admixture, the genetic admixture of the various individuals also is something that adds complexity to the contributions of this variable. It's something that makes it a very important priority. And as we know, we have for a long time recognized that when we have underrepresentation of groups that are non-European, the databases that we have now that we can query to learn about risk, loci, and things of that nature are biased to identify those hits that are present in the European ancestry community. We also know that when we go through the clinical application of the knowledge that we now have, and we harvest that and we apply that to individuals, often the individuals that we know a lot about may have an environment and a developmental experience, and also a clinical healthcare experience that can be very different to the other individuals that are not represented in this map. Again, that makes it a very important issue. And to illustrate the importance of this, I'll just share a couple of other recent reports of some of the challenges that we have seen. And so this is from Martin et al. And it speaks about some of the limited in the ability to identify or to replicate the risks that have been identified in European populations, at 100% likelihood of as the standard. And when you move over to African ancestry communities, we see that we have a significant challenge in our ability to replicate some of those. There's variability, again, depending on where some of these communities may be coming from. But this is something that most definitely highlights the fact that at least for some of the trades that involve anthropomorphic qualities and other sort of lab measurements of biomarkers or biochemical parameters that we track for health and for outcomes of health, we have less ability to really kind of identify those issues. And as we had mentioned before, it's not only the fact that some of these differences are recognized by the ancestral origin of individuals, but also by a lot of the environmental events and the social determinants that may be facilitating expression of some of these issues. And now we have a number of initiatives because we have recognized the importance of increasing the diversity of underrepresented groups. And the African ancestry is a very important aspect of what must be studied. It's a very important group in the global population. And we see here listed a number of initiatives. We'll share an example of the All of Us program as well. We have the several others that have a high proportion of African descent individuals, 35% in page 2. Some of those are 100%. The All of Us has 16% as of this publication. And we can see that although the percentage is relatively lower compared to some of the other diverse cohorts, the sheer size of the All of Us, which is intending to recruit 1 million individuals, is going to bring a very large number of African ancestry folks, you know, in the neighborhood, if the trend continues for this percentage, in the neighborhood of 160,000. And so that will be a very desirable group of individuals to work with. This is also another good example of the power of including multi-ethnic samples. And this comes from the PAGE study, of course, that had individuals from a variety of self-identified descents. And you can see here an important proportion of African American and also Hispanics. These are the larger proportions. We had in the neighborhood of 44% or so individuals of Hispanic descent that were included here from the SOUL study and others work in New York. And what you see here is when you look at a number of different traits, significant replications of known loci, but also a number of those that were not replicated, and then a number of others that were found as novel loci. So this really kind of highlights the idea that including a multi-ethnic group will facilitate discovery and replication of important traits in GWAS. So one more illustration of the importance of including a diverse cohort of individuals. And as we mentioned, these are groups distributed from various parts of the country in the US. And it becomes really important to make sure that we continue the efforts to really have very diverse cohorts of individuals that will allow us to leverage and take advantage of genomic information, but also very importantly of the environmental factors that are influencing their life experience, knowing about social determinants of health, knowing about sensed environment as well, having access to participant-provided information, having access to electronic health records in ways that can facilitate definitions of phenotype that may be also better explored over time, and inviting the participation also of researchers and physician scientists and other folks that can increase the diversity and the mission of the various organizations that are working in research is something that is really, really important. So the All of Us research program is one of the most important aspects of the precision medicine initiative that had been, of course, enacted with bipartisan support. And the goal, of course, was to really use this as a platform for research that we all can take advantage of. And this is, of course, the right time, given the fact that we had electronic health records at the beginning of the past decade, used in a more generalized fashion in the US and other parts of the world. And we have, of course, great computing capacity and, of course, great capacity to be genotyping and artificial intelligence that allows us to also start looking for those important associations and predictions. And so this has become, we hope, a great promise of what may be in store for those of us that have an interest in precision medicine going forward. The All of Us research program, again, seeks to include elements of data that are individualized, but that leverage recognition of an individual's lifestyle, diet, activities, their environment, and their genetic information, having, of course, the electronic health records and the ability to work with that data. When you have a cohort of individuals that also come from very diverse parts of the country geographically, that have very different life experiences of a variety of ages. These are not individuals that were brought into a study of a specific condition. So this is an agnostic type of effort. It's something that will really facilitate us coming back to and querying with a whole bunch of different potential opportunities. Some of the important core values of the All of Us research program was participation is open to all. And that's mostly been kept as the promise of the program initially was intended to. Because of the protection of individuals that are vulnerable, we have not included individuals that are incarcerated at this time. And also people under 18 have not participated so far. The plan is to roll out the enrollment and the study of minors as well. And the goal was to reflect the rich diversity of the US, not to have a proportional necessarily representation of all the various elements of diversity that are valued, but again, to make sure that we really make this richly diverse. This is also something that really meant to be a reflection of an interaction with the participants and the community members that are engaging with potential participants from the diverse backgrounds, that really facilitates an approach that informs how the research should be done, what aspects of research should be done, what aspects of research should be fed back to the individual participants. How do we protect the access to the information and facilitate security, while at the same time really promoting the utilization of this fantastic resource that is being generated with the involvement and participation and guidance of the individuals that we are seeking to serve with this important resource. The vision, again, was to support diversity, and this was done through a variety of different fashions. Diversity is defined in a variety of different ways: the diversity of the people that participate, their health status, the data type that they're contributing, geography, you name it. Initially, the All of Us research program contracted with 10 large health provider organization networks, and each one of those had to have a track and a commitment to focus on addressing the needs of individuals and communities underrepresented in biomedical research. At the same time, there was a group of federally qualified health centers that were also brought in to support and build capacity to contribute to the engagement and the enrollment as partners of the health provider organization, but also to serve individually into the contributions to perhaps the direct volunteers or those hybrid connections. The network of direct volunteer partners is also an opportunity to make sure that this is made available throughout the country for those individuals that are not near an HPO partner. And we wanted to make sure that we grew the network by working with individuals that are serving the needs of those groups underrepresented in biomedical research that were prioritized by the program. And of course, each of the HPOs and each of the partners has plans specific to address the needs of special populations and to build a participant-centered culture as well. We've talked about the elements of diversity, the attributes of diversity that are involved, and I'll talk to you about some of those right now. And briefly, I will share with you the state of the data right now for the All of Us research program. And this is information as of November 7th, so this is a couple of days old. And what you see here is that overall, we have 430,000 participants that have agreed to be part of the program, out of whom 306,000, so more than 300,000, have completed the initial steps in the program. This is what we know at All of Us as the core participants. And so this 306,000 individuals have signed consent to participate. They have also provided approval to share their electronic health records with the data center. And they have also provided samples, biosamples. In most cases, it's blood to facilitate the study of certain biomarkers and common disease indicators that we are using in practice right now, as well as genomic research as well. Certain individuals who do not have access to participate by giving blood, we're also allowing their involvement through the use of saliva, and there's different analysis and, of course, genetic information, genomic information that can be obtained from that. This to the right is a map of the United States showing the distribution of the individuals that have this far enrolled in the All of Us research program. We're in Arizona, and it has the darkest shade of blue, reflecting the fact that we have the highest proportion of individuals in our state that have enrolled. So we're proud to be able to bring into the participation and retention of a large proportion of individuals. There's 10 HPOs, and those health provider organizations are often partnering in a variety of the states that have a darker shade of blue compared to some other parts of the country where the proportion still remains fairly minimal. And this is the racial and ethnic diversity of the participants from all over the country. The people reported as white, this will be non-Hispanic white, it will be 47.7%, Asian 3%, African American Black 21.1%, Hispanic Latino 17%, and we have a number of other identities as well that are reflected. And as you can see, this is a very diverse cohort for the standard of of genomic research that has been done so far. And it's also not a study of only people that are racially and ethnically underrepresented in biomedical research, but it's a study of individuals from all walks of life. And so there's a lot of individuals that are represented here, and they're also European descent, non-Hispanic whites, who meet the criteria for other elements of diversity that are also valued. And we have a larger proportion of women that are participating. All of us also provides an opportunity for self-reporting of gender and sexual minorities. So the inclusion of individuals from non-binary, transgender, LGBTQ plus is also encouraged and valued, and it's something that we make sure to also promote their participation as well, and make sure that we are also including elements to target and provide research and return of information and service that will address the needs of those communities as well. The age of individuals, as we mentioned, people under 18 so far have not participated, but we have a nice proportion of individuals that are older adults that are participating. This is also considered a group underrepresented in biomedical research, especially those that are over 65 years of age. And these are the numbers that we have so far for Arizona. This is as of last week. We had more than 50,000 individuals that have signed, and the vast majority of the ones that we have worked with are core participants, the one that have provided the approval for obtaining the additional information. The overall diversity, which will include all these various elements, is 81%. The target for the whole country is to have 80% of overall diversity and 50% or greater of racial and ethnic diversity. And so we are happy to be similar to the rest of our country, meeting that 80% threshold for overall diversity and the 50% threshold for racial and ethnic diversity. For age, we have 17.9%, and sexual and gender minorities, 9.4%. Income, this represents individuals that are below a threshold of federal poverty and an income level that is considered low around the country. And education also includes people that have not completed a high school education. And geography includes individuals that are primarily from areas that are considered rural and also have traditionally been underrepresented in biomedical research. So a lot of these attributes become really important as we go on to take advantage of the wealth of information that we will be having from these individuals. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are doing designing the efforts that we have to make sure that we are inclusive of individuals and communities that are underrepresented. We do that through community engagement, which is based in the principles of justice, empowerment, self-determination, and participation by the members that we are seeking to serve. We're not going to go to do work to them, but rather with them and through them, which is how we are hoping to really promote our collaborations. And we will do this, we will use their information so that we can be present and able to invite people in a way that is culturally congruent, as not only culturally informed or has cultural humility, but rather it is really a reflection of what the community would be needing. We do this again by partnering with individuals and leveraging relationships that we have had for a number of years, and also leveraging the relationship that our partners have with members of those communities. We need to make sure that that our partners are people that are sharing the values and the missions of the All of Us research program to make sure that we are, again, there to remain participant-centered. I'm sharing a slide that I co-developed with Dr. Cecilia Rosales. Dr. Cecilia Rosales is a professor of the College of Public Health and dean of the college in the Phoenix area for the University of Arizona. And we both were co-leading engagement for the state of Arizona. And this was an idea of trying to do precision engagement. If we're going to do precision medicine, we cannot be doing the same forms of engagement that we have traditionally done. And if we're doing precision engagement to try to promote that diversity of the communities, we need to make sure that we are identifying individuals and communities, whatever we're at, that are part of those targets, that we engage and develop and sustain those relationships. As I mentioned, it's difficult to go and roll into a town and do engagement if you have not had an opportunity to have established relationships and partnerships to build from, if you have not had an opportunity to develop that credibility and trust. So again, we have to develop that, but most importantly, we have to figure out ways in which we identify what's in it for them and how does our gain reflect a gain for them and the mutual communities that we're trying to serve. And then, of course, we leverage those, the trust and the partnerships we give, and we ask them to also contribute to the All of Us. And this is, again, examples of the groups that we're working with. We have built a couple of participant engagement boards and the community advisory committees that involve individuals from the community, family members, community-based organizations, faith organizations, community service organizations, educational groups, research groups, medical groups, especially those that are serving the needs of the various communities, some governmental organizations, some NGOs, of course, federally qualified health centers, and people in the media, people that are going to help us get the word out, people that are not just influencers themselves, but those that have the influencers with a mission that is also similar to what we're trying to do. The kind of people that want to get the information to folks that is going to help them advance their well-being, their health, and their healthy aging as well. Briefly, a picture of the faces of our group. This is a pre-COVID picture. Our team has changed in a number of ways, but as you can see, we have visible diversity of a variety of different kinds. We want to make sure that the community of team members that we have are reflective of the communities that we're seeking to serve. We want to have folks that speak Spanish, that are bicultural, to be working on those Latinx communities where can walk through and have a reflection of their own life coming in to speak with those communities. And the same is true for a variety of the other communities that have an identity that may be different to the traditional majority identity of our country. And so we do this by selecting the sites that we want to be serving and engaging, staffing it appropriately, training everybody to be able to serve the needs of everybody, training everybody to be able to get along ourselves and to build that culture in which we recognize that our main goal here is to serve the patients and to make sure that we are representing the diversity that we want to represent within this group. My full-time job is to be the Vice President for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. So everything that we do with outreach to communities, whether we're recruiting students or we're recruiting researchers or we're recruiting participants for clinical trials, we wear the flag of equity, justice, inclusion, and diversity, and it shows. And we have developed partnerships built around that element. Sometimes we falter, sometimes we don't do the right things, but we continue to learn, we continue to keep that humility and that capacity to growth that allows us to recognize and continue to get it righter the next time, or perhaps set the foundation for somebody else to come through and do this in a good way. So community engagement is a continuum process. This is an example of our Tucson-based engagement team. Half of our team members are community health workers or promotoras. The other half are are engagement coordinators, individuals that have had generally bachelor level education, who have an interest and experience in engaging, but also in doing work with research. We do education, we connect with people. This is before COVID happened, so we used to have a lot of contact with folks. Now we do less contact. We have a lot more. We've used COVID as a way to also bridge into the community. Our members here were providing education about COVID. Some of them were volunteering as part of their day job into antibody testing sites led by the University of Arizona, vaccination posts by Banner. And as we were doing that, we were also engaging the community and talking to them about the All of Us research program, the importance of research, genetic research, and you name it. So we've developed a number of partners throughout the country that were also selected specifically because they serve the needs of communities like the ones that we're trying to prioritize. If you're going to be doing recruitment, you want to make sure that you are talking to the people that are that diversity that you're looking to have. It's very important to make sure that it's not only the patients that are diverse, but the team that is working with them, the leaders that are involved in the process, the researchers that are involved with that as well, that are representatives of these cultures, that are people that have worked with them for a long time or are themselves members of these groups. So this alignment of the goals, it's very, very important. These are examples of national organizations that are partner for engagement, folks that address the needs of people with disability, African Americans, members of health service industry, women organizations, other minority groups, Latino advocacy groups, you name it. We have 50 Forward and LGBTQ plus Pride organization, nation groups. I'm leaving people out of the conversation, but the intent here is to be inclusive and share with you examples of some of the elements that we do. We also have developed a program within Arizona of champions, trying to work with people for whom passing on the message of all of us, of participation in all of us, will benefit them as well. So, okay, sounds good. I am going to show you the last slide here as we talk a little bit more and move on to some questions and answers. We are also with mobile health units going to the most disadvantaged communities. And what we will do now is stop sharing so that we can have an opportunity to move on to some of the questions and answers. Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to a bit of the conversation. Catherine, thank you again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moreno. That was exciting. You've generated considerable interest. So let me offer a few questions for your input. The first is, people are interested, given the large number of samples and the diversity that you've collected to date. Have there been any observations, breakthroughs, any research discoveries that have come of this project, or are they still in the offing?
Great question. So this is now the time to get on board and ask for access to the data and start bringing in those important questions that you will have. So the All of Us program started a campaign of what we called demonstration projects. And the idea with the demonstration project is nobody's going to come and do a breakthrough now, so don't get greedy. We just want you to do a replication study and perhaps have a little bit of a variation of something that will be intriguing or interesting or whatnot. And so it was a great opportunity for people to ask questions, have an opportunity to show something that we have known about or has been tested in a variety of different ways. Still, right now, more and more data continues to be deposited, and it's open now to a variety of phases that will allow researchers to have access to the data and start asking those questions at this point.
Excellent. We look forward to that day for sure as the project evolves. There was a question, should an individual participate and provides a sample, and then later they change their mind. They don't want their genetic information included. Maybe they even want their samples returned after they've been submitted, at least what might be left of them. How does the project answer that request and or accommodate those requests?
That's another excellent question. So if an individual decides that they no longer wish to participate, then there will no longer be contacted by the study for the subsequent fitting of information. People may also request that the data not be utilized. So there are some aspects of the data that have been anonymized and shared in that cannot be tracked in some ways that may be kind of beyond being able to subtract that information. But if an individual wants their data completely out, we can go through whatever extent to make sure that their samples are also taken out, and that their data is also excluded from the assessment.
Okay, great, thank you. There's a specific question about the American Indian and Alaskan Native and Native Hawaiian individuals. Has there been a decision to include them? I assume no one's turned away, but is there a specific sort of activity with them?
Yeah, that's an excellent question also. So our country has a large number of tribal nations that are self-governed and self-determined, and they all have the capacity to decide about their involvement with the All of Us research program. When the All of Us research program first was released with the motto of we're open to everybody, we want to have you all in here, we brought in the message to all folks. And even though from the get-go there hasn't been any specific efforts to enroll members of the American Indian and Alaska Native communities, a number of members that had self-identified as American Indian and Alaska Native had enrolled in the project. It wasn't forbidden, and it's still not forbidden. As the process of tribal consultation had gotten started, which was after the project had been kicked off, it's a process that has taken quite a bit of time, and there's now a formal report of the tribal consultation process. All of Us continues to move forward, although in a very gradual way, to expand the conversations with individual tribes. There's not going to be a single, everybody signs on, let's go ahead and move on with this issue yet. There's several conversations that have been brought up by members of American Indian and Alaska Native communities with concerns about the ownership of the samples, the ownership of the data, who's to profit from that. Many times the tribes want to make sure that they remain owners of the data that is shared. You have individuals that are not affiliated with a tribe, or that they may be affiliated with a tribe and still wanted to participate. How do you handle those cases? If you have sufficient number of individuals that can give information about a tribe, should information about a tribe or American Indians in general be shared with others? So right now we're in a phase in which Any of the research and the reporting for American Indian Alaska Native is stopped. And for anybody who continues to provide the samples, those samples, again, are identified, and there's concerns about disposal of samples. Should they be done in a culturally appropriate way? And so all of those questions remain. There's a commitment from the biobank and from all of us to make sure that this is done ultimately in a way that is satisfactory to those that participated in their tribes. And so meanwhile, there's no data that will be made available for these groups.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moreno. As you know, there's a considerable interest in and desire to support our tribal brothers and sisters, right? Our nations. And so it's important work and always to be done carefully. Well, I want to thank everyone for their participation and thoughtful questions. And Dr. Moreno, thank you so much for taking the time today to share this information. It's excellent work, and we look forward to seeing what comes of it.
Well, thank you all very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.